Hey, welcome to WTBL Walking the Blue Line. I'm Lyle.
I'm Yvonne.
We're the Johnstons, and we are bringing you another episode of Murder and Mayhem this week. To this week's story, we want to talk about the murder of Miriam. But speaking of murder, Yvonne, have you ever met a murderer?
Well, unlike you, yes, I've met one.
Oh,
I know you've met probably many.
I have met a few in my time, yeah. But, well, let's tell the story about how you met a murderer.
Okay.
Okay, so how does this all begin?
It started in 1991 when Miriam met her husband, Richard. Their last name is Illes, and they got married.
And they got married. They were both in the medical field.
Yes, they were. And they were living in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which is known for a small.
A little fact, right? The Little League capital of the world, the Little League World Series happens there each
No
year.
pun intended.
No pun intended.
Yes.
But anyway, so they're living in Williamsport, which is actually a fairly nice community.
Mhm.
They have a child named Richie, right?
Well, after they get married and they've been married for a few years, they have a son named Richie. And they were actually working together at the hospital. Richard was a prominent heart doctor. He was a surgeon. And she was his assistant and she took care of the anesthesia while people are under.
Okay, so she's got kind of an important job then as well. But
Yeah.
once Richie comes into her life, I think, doesn't she want to be a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah, she does. She decides she wants to stay home and she's pretty laid back, down to earth person. And Richard is making like $1 million a year and she shops at the dollar store. She's, teaches Sunday school at church. And so she decides that now she wants to retire from her career and take care of her son.
Yeah, and that's a noble thing to do. But she also didn't want to leave Richard hanging out there without someone to help him.
No, she didn't. So she hires an assistant named Katie for him.
And Katie is her replacement, basically, takes over the day-to-day operations working with the doctor.
I believe she does the anesthesia as well.
Right. So that means they're kind of working close together.
Yep.
And we know how things
Dot,
like,
dot, dot.
yeah. And
Yeah, so Richard kind of changes his personality. Well, I don't know if he changes his personality, but he becomes a lot more controlling of his wife.
And Miriam starts to have some suspicions that more than just a working relationship is going on.
Exactly. So she hires an attorney, and the attorney confirms that yes, he's having an affair with his assistant that she hired, Katie.
I think she decides that she's not going to put up with this.
Yeah, she's not very happy about it. He's been treating her pretty poorly and talking badly about her at work. And she still loves him. She would, thought about reconciling, but he didn't want that. So she ends up moving out and getting her own place.
Yeah. And just for timeline, so they got married in 91, and this is about 1998.
Mm,
Richie's 5 years old when she
yeah,
files
for
for
divorce.
divorce.
Yeah. And when she files for divorce, the court actually awards her like $13,000 a month for child support.
Right. But I mean, he's still a dad and in the picture, so he gets visitation and those kind of
Yes,
things.
he
She's
does.
got her own house, he's got his.
Yes.
Okay.
But in the divorce proceedings, she went through the house with a video camera and videoed everything they had so that when it came to dividing stuff up, they had proof of what they had. And she also went through his shop.
Right. And he's got a lot of tools and
Oh,
all
yeah,
of
all
that kind of
kinds
stuff.
of tools. Not only is he a surgeon, but he likes to make things. He's an avid hunter. He's a great shot. And so he has all these tools to make things.
So he isn't just necessarily the nerdy doctor, but he's actually kind of skilled in the workshop activities.
He's kind of a control freak, though. He wants to be control of everything, which spurned a little bit of their divorce. He wanted dinner on the table as soon as he walked in the door. He wanted the house perfect. He wanted his child perfect, her perfect. So, yes.
Okay. About January 15th of 1999 is a Friday afternoon, and I believe it is Richard's weekend to take Richie.
Yeah, it is. And he usually picks him up around 8 p.m. in the evening, but that evening in particular, he ends up picking him up around 9 p.m., which is an hour later. And he said he's going out of town to see his sisters.
And his sisters live about 3 hours away.
Yes, they do.
Okay. And I believe there was some mention to the fact that the roads are kind of bad, or there had been
A
some snow,
storm, the day before, so there's a little bit of snow out there.
right? And I think he used that as part of his excuse for being an hour late to pick Richie up.
Yes, he does.
Okay. So he picks up Richie and takes off.
Yeah, he takes off and, he is on the road. He says he stops at McDonald's and he calls his sister and he says, "Hey, the roads are bad. I don't think I'm gonna make it tonight, so I'm gonna get a hotel and I'll see you in the morning."
Okay. And what's Miriam doing?
Well, she's at home and she's talking to one of her friends from Montana on the telephone.
All right. And so I believe her friend, though, says their phone call gets interrupted
Yeah, at 10:37, the phone just goes dead.
and no one can now get a hold of Miriam.
No, people tried for 2 days. They tried Saturday and they tried all day Sunday. No one could get a hold of her.
Well, on Sunday, though, she's supposed to teach Sunday school.
Yeah, and she's never really missed. So when her friends couldn't get a hold of her, they decided to walk over to her house and see if they can see anything. When they get over there, they're walking around. They find one window with the drapes up, and there's a bullet hole through the window.
So they're able to see Miriam, though, on the floor inside the house.
Right. She's laying on the floor with the phone. So they decide they need to call the police. And the police show up and they can't get in. So they break down the door.
And they find that Miriam's deceased, right?
Right. One shot right through the heart.
And they can tell that it came through the window.
Right.
So they go outside.
And they start looking for some evidence.
But in the meantime, Richard's at his sister's house, uh,
Yeah.
about 3 hours away, right?
Right. And the sisters, when questioned later, say that it was kind of a strange visit, that he showed up, he didn't have any extra clothes with him, and the visit just seemed very rushed.
So on Sunday, though, he has to take Richie back to Miriam's house and leaves his sister's.
Right. So he shows up at her house and the police are still there. And his account says that he asked them, "What happened? Is there a burglary?" And the police said, "No, she's been shot."
And instead of having some kind of reaction that would be almost emotional or something, he
Mhm.
says, according to the police, something to the effect of, well, what evidence was found?
Right. So in his account that he tells, he acts like he is concerned. Is there a burglary? But the police say, no, that's not what he did. He asked if there was evidence found.
Which seems like a very weird question to ask
Yes.
immediately. What evidence?
Exactly. And they did find some evidence. Besides the bullet hole through the window, they kind of traced that path back that looks like to them that someone had parked across the street. There was a big culvert that you could walk through that takes you through to her house. They seemingly walked through that because they could see footprints in the snow. They go up to a great vantage point of her house where they can actually see right through that window that the curtains were up on.
And they found other evidence there
They
too.
did. There was a cigarette butt. There was also a silencer that they could tell was a homemade one that was close by.
And the footprints in the snow were kind of unique as well.
So after they find all the evidence, they start questioning people. And they find out that Richard and Miriam are in the middle of a divorce.
And as part of the divorce for Miriam, she ended up taking a videotape of everything at their house so
Right.
that he couldn't hide property,
And also in his shop.
which had a bunch of tools and everything in it. And
Right.
I think those tools actually got the eye of the investigators.
Yeah, they noticed that there was everything there that you could make the silencer that they found from.
So they get a search warrant and they go over to Richard's house and they photograph all of the tools that he's got.
Right.
They search the shop and they find a bunch of materials that are consistent with what they found the silencer to have been made of.
Right, there was some wire there that was exactly like the wire that was used in the silencer, and some spray foam and PVC pipe, everything that he had in his shop.
And then they went into the house and found some items of interest as well.
Yeah, they did. When they were going through his bedroom on the nightstand, there was a book there by the FBI. It was called They Write Their Own Sentences, and it was analysis of handwriting.
Kind of seems like a strange book for a doctor to have.
It does sound like that.
So, what when they find this book. Then a couple days later, a strange letter shows up at the police station.
Yeah, it does. It's written like it was from someone who actually said they murdered Miriam and they blamed Richard for it. And it was like because she was a racist, and it was just a very strange letter. And the thing that really caught their eye was that it was in pencil and it was block lettering, which is what the book said you needed to do to make it very hard to be traced.
So they got, whoever wrote this got tips from the FBI on how to write it, basically.
From that book or a book like that.
But that wasn't the only letter that they received that seemed kind of strange.
No, they received a second letter, and this letter was written exactly the same way, but this time it seemed like it alluded to it was his partner in the medical office that was responsible for the murder.
And I believe that the police then actually talked to the partner, and he had like a rock solid alibi. They knew
Yeah.
he wasn't responsible.
Yep, they knew he didn't do it.
So for a little while, there isn't anything going on in new information until a hiker discovers a rifle.
Right. He's going down hiking and he finds this gun, and the important part of this is where the gun was found by the river. It was off of Route 15, which was actually the route that you take to get to his sister's house.
Right. And they take and have the rifle examined forensically, and
Right. It's determined to be the weapon, and it's a different kind of rifle, one that's not overly popular, and it had been altered. It had had the barrel cut off and also the shoulder rest cut off.
exactly. So it's been kind of fashioned, and the silencer will actually click right onto the end of it.
Right. And what was the kind of gun that it was?
Savage 20D bolt action 22 caliber rifle.
Right.
And they hadn't been manufactured since about 1949.
So this was an old gun.
Very old. So after the firearm is found, the police then also do a number of other follow-up things, such as they get his cell phone records and they're able to determine where Richard was.
During that time that he was supposedly driving to his sister's house. Yes. He says that he stops at McDonald's and he goes to this hotel and then he shows up at his sister's house later. But the time frames that he's given don't match the telephone data.
Well, not only that, but they don't match the story that he had told earlier, because this entire trip should have only taken about 2 hours, but he's missing for about 3.5 hours.
Yeah, so there's an hour and a half that's in question of where was he. And the people at McDonald's also did not place him there when he said he was there.
Right. So things just aren't adding up.
No.
They go back and talk to Richard about his story.
Yeah, and they question him like about the time frame. Then he changes his story.
As well, they question him about the silencer.
It's true, because they were saying that, you have all the stuff in your shop to make this silencer, and he kind of gets a little bit arrogant, and he is like, well, if I was going to do it, I would have made a much better one.
I think that he knew quite a bit about firearms so that he could have made this silencer. He's
Yeah,
an avid hunter, and
his whole family was avid hunters. He was an excellent shot.
he's a really good shot, right?
Yeah.
So Richard's kind of getting tired of this. I think he's starting to see that he can't really have a normal life in
Mhm.
Williamsport anymore. So he and Katie moved to Laredo, Texas.
Yeah, and shortly after that, around 6 months after Miriam was dead, they get married.
So he jumps head over heels into this serious relationship
Right.
within a short amount of time. Not all is good in Laredo.
No, everywhere he goes, it seems like this thing follows him. If he applies for a job at a place, a box will arrive at that place. It has newspaper clippings and a letter, and it's all anonymous saying, this guy, this is what's going on. And so when these people get that, they pass on him as far as hiring him.
So he doesn't get employment in Laredo like he anticipated,
Right,
and he moves again.
right. He shows up in Spokane.
He's applying for a job here in Spokane as well.
Right, at the Heart Center. And once again, this box shows up with all the newspaper clippings. And they were actually going to hire him. They liked what they saw, but when they got this box with all the newspaper clippings and the letter telling them what's going on, they were like, no, we think we're going to pass.
So what's he going to do for money?
With him not being able to get a job in Spokane, he decides to open up his own practice. It's not heart surgery anymore.
But he's moved on. And then meanwhile, back in Williamsport, the investigation continues, And just a short distance from where the rifle was found, they find a set of shoes.
Yep, size 14 tennis shoes.
And they match those to the footwear impressions that were found at the original crime scene.
Exactly right.
And then, so the detectives continue on by interviewing various people, and they go down and pay a visit to Richard's sisters a few hours away.
Yeah, when while they're there, his sisters just happen to be going through some old pictures, and one of the detectives is looking at these pictures, and he finds this guy holding a gun that is exactly like the murder weapon.
They recognize this because it is kind of an older, unusual weapon. And they ask, who is this guy? Well, it's a guy by the name of Joe Kowalski.
Yeah. And they said that it was his godfather, and then they also said that Richard called him his uncle, but in reality,
It's his biological father.
right, and his father had passed away and left Richard this gun.
So this gun that's made back before 1949 is somewhat untraceable, but shows up in this photograph. And although there's no serial number, it looks like this could be the murder weapon. As well, some DNA analysis has come in, and so they're looking at this evidence as well.
Right. There was the cigarette butt, and then there was some hairs they found in the silencer, and there was also some hair that they found in those two weird letters.
All of those DNA analyses actually come back pointing to 5 different people.
Right. So now the detectives are starting to think, wait a minute, there's something too weird about this. They think they're being led astray,
Yeah, I mean,
planted.
have that much evidence pointing in different directions
Mm,
definitely seems like is planted, like all of this is staged.
right.
For them to come across it and now not know which direction to go.
Right.
So what it really does is points them back to Richard.
Mm.
This is a brilliant doctor. He's come up with a good plan.
So he thinks.
So he thinks.
Yes.
So now that they feel this way, they know that Richard is out in Spokane,
Right.
and they contact the Spokane County Sheriff's Office and ask them to start keeping tabs on him.
Yeah. So they
And
figure out where he lives, which way he goes to work, which way he comes home, kind of his daily pattern.
they're preparing to arrest him. So the detectives from Pennsylvania fly out and meet up with the detectives from Spokane County.
And you know those guys, right?
I do. I used to work with Detective Henderson and Detective Marsky.
So the day comes that they decide they're going to try to nab him. They're watching him and he leaves work. So then they start following him.
But he doesn't take his normal route, does he?
No, I'm not sure if he knew they were following him or what. But so he starts and he goes towards downtown Spokane.
And he leads them on a little bit of a chase. It's not
Yeah.
really a full pursuit, but
No, but
he
he's zipping in and out of streets and turning, and he finally stops his car and he gets out. Richard's like, he tries to play it cool, like, "Hey, what's going on? What's this all about?"
yeah, and Detective Marsky tells him, "I think you know what this is about. There's some guys from Pennsylvania that would like to talk to you."
Right. So they arrest him.
But once they got him under arrest, looking for any conceivable evidence, they now do a search warrant at his current home in
Mm.
Spokane.
And they confiscate his computer. And on his computer is a major piece of evidence,
Manuscript?
a manuscript. And guess what the name of it is?
What is the name of it?
Heart Shot, Murder of the Doctor's Wife.
And it's like details everything that's
Every
happened.
single thing that happened, the names are the same, everything. He didn't change anything. It was like his written confession.
It is kind of crazy that you would write all of that down
Yeah.
if you're trying to hide.
Yeah, he says he's trying to give the true story, but no one believes that.
Exactly. He says it's the perspective that the police aren't putting out there.
Right. And no one believes him.
But it still becomes a key piece of evidence at
It
his
does.
trial, which happens back in Pennsylvania.
I think it's kind of the nail that, drives the coffin closed.
So the trial takes about 5 weeks. At the conclusion of that,
Yeah, they deliberated about 2.5 days.
and of course,
They
he is
found him
guilty.
first-degree murder.
Yes. So then he is off to prison.
Yeah. It turns a little dark after that, right after they arrest him and put him in jail. He tries to commit suicide, but he doesn't
He's not successful.
exactly.
And now he has filed all of the appeals that he can
Yeah, he's exhausted all of those. He is trying to get a new trial, saying that he didn't get a fair trial.
and such. But,
Yeah, I don't think he'll have much success, but who knows?
But we didn't cover. So how do you meet this murderer?
Yeah, so I was actually a patient of his a long time ago.
did a little consulting with him, did you?
Yeah, yeah. I was aware that there was some questioning about, what was going on in his life, but at that point, nothing had been proven. And it was suspicious. So, like you say, innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
But
Well,
now knowing, it's a little creepy.
yeah, I would imagine that kinda makes you a little creepy.
To
I
find out that your doctor was a murderer, kind of like,
don't know how many more people in your life are murderers, you know?
yeah, you never know. That's
You
the weird thing.
you never know who's walking around out there.
Well, you guys were probably into that a lot more. A lot of the people you arrest are, found guilty of that stuff.
Right. Working in major crimes, a significant portion of our caseload is actually working with murderers.
Right.
So, not that unusual from that perspective, but
When you go to
most
a doctor who's supposed to be,
saving lives instead
yeah,
of
instead
taking them.
taking them, that's a
Right.
little creepy.
So,
Yes.
well, we hope that you enjoyed
Yeah.
our story today on the murder of Miriam. And we hope that you'll tune in next time when we bring you another podcast. Until that time, thanks for coming along.
Like and subscribe if you're
Yep,
enjoying this.
exactly. And hopefully, we will see you next time on Walking the Blue Line.
Bye.